The command bridge of the Vraxian scout ship Nebula Seeker hummed with the low buzz of various alien technologies at work. Commander Zarlan stood tall, his gaze fixed on the panoramic view of space displayed before him. The stars stretched out endlessly, each a promise of new worlds and new mysteries. "Commander, approaching Sector 7 Gamma now," announced Lieutenant Grix, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as he adjusted the ship's trajectory. "Sensors detect a planetary system with a Class M planet." Zarlan turned, his cloak swirling around him. "Prepare for a stealth orbit. I want detailed scans of that planet. It might be just another rock, but every detail counts." "Yes, Commander," replied Grix, his fingers dancing over the luminescent controls. Beside him, Sub-Commander Talik, a towering figure with a quiet demeanor, observed the incoming data. As the ship neared the uncharted planet, the crew gathered around the main holoscreen. Zarlan, Grix, and Talik were joined by Dr. Velan, the ship's chief scientist, who peered at the readings with interest. "Initial scans show it's teeming with life, but there are no signs of advanced weaponry or spacefaring capabilities," Dr. Velan noted, adjusting his spectacles. "Its inhabitants call it Earth." "Earth?" Zarlan mused, folding his arms. "A simple name. What can you tell us about the dominant species?" "They're called humans," Dr. Velan continued, tapping the screen to zoom in on images of bustling cities and vast landscapes. "Bipedal, highly social, and their technology is primitive compared to ours but rapidly evolving." Zarlan nodded thoughtfully. "Talik, assemble a covert team. We need to learn more about these humans. Grix, you're with me. We'll blend in and gather information firsthand." Talik gave a sharp nod, his face a mask of determination. "Understood, Commander. I'll select the team." As the others set to work, Zarlan turned back to the viewport, watching the blue planet come into focus. It was beautiful and vibrant, a stark contrast to the cold metal and dark space of their usual explorations. "Commander, how do you propose we blend in?" Grix asked, joining Zarlan at the viewport. "Our appearances. We have technology for that," Zarlan replied, a slight smile playing on his lips. "The morph synthesizers will adjust our features to pass as human. We'll need to study their behavior closely, understand their customs." "And if we are discovered?" Grix questioned, his voice tinged with concern. Zarlan's gaze hardened. "We won't be. This mission is too important. Understanding Earth might hold the key to expanding the Council's reach. We proceed with caution, learn what makes these humans tick." Grix nodded, though his antennae twitched with unease. "I'll prepare our disguises then. What about the language?" "We'll download the necessary linguistic databases, learn their languages, adapt to their cultures. It's the only way to truly understand them," Zarlan explained, turning to oversee the preparation. The Nebula Seeker entered a stealth orbit around Earth, hidden from the prying eyes of human technology. Zarlan watched his crew work, each member crucial to the mission's success. Together, they would uncover the secrets of Earth, learning why this seemingly insignificant planet had never been touched by the conflicts that raged across the galaxy. As Earth's blue oceans and green lands grew clearer in his view, Zarlan felt a spark of curiosity that had been absent for centuries of command. What mysteries did this planet hold? What lessons could the mightiest empire in the galaxy learn from such a primitive yet untouched world? Chapter 2. First Observations. The Nebula Seeker remained cloaked in Earth's orbit, invisible and silent like a shadow in space. Inside the observation deck, Commander Zarlan and his team were busy at their stations, each member intently monitoring the array of screens displaying various aspects of human life. "Commander, I've compiled the initial cultural analysis," said Dr. Velan, adjusting the data pads in his hands. Humans have a complex social structure, with their societies divided by invisible boundaries they refer to as countries. Each has its own set of rules and leadership. Zarlan nodded, his eyes scanning the report. And their military capabilities? Surprisingly basic, replied Lieutenant Grix from another console. They have no unified planetary defense. Their weapons are primitive, projectiles, explosives. Nothing that would stand against even the weakest of our shields. Subcommander Talik joined the conversation, his voice deep and steady. Their real strength may lie elsewhere. They show a remarkable capacity for creativity and innovation within limitations. It's all over their communication networks, art, music, literature. Indeed, Dr. Velan added, their emotional expressions are rich and varied. It's something we've seen less of in the galaxy as technology advances. Zarlan pondered this, his fingers tapping on the armrest of his chair. Prepare for a surface mission. We need to observe these behaviors firsthand. Grix, Talik, you're with me. We'll integrate discreetly, observe their interactions. The team nodded, each member aware of the significance of their task. They spent the next few hours studying human customs, clothing, and speech patterns to blend in seamlessly. Dressed in human attire, Zarlan, Grix, and Talik walked through the bustling streets of a city called New York, marveling at the skyscrapers and the constant flow of people. The noise was a cacophony of car horns, music, and voices, a stark contrast to the controlled environments of their ship. Look at them, completely unaware of the broader universe, Grix whispered, keeping his voice low as they stopped at a pedestrian crossing. Talik, observing a group of people laughing together at a street corner, nodded. Yet, they seem content. There's a lesson here, perhaps. They moved to a small park, where Zarlan sat on a bench, watching a street performer playing guitar. The music was raw and filled with emotion, drawing a crowd that seemed captivated by the performance. Music appears to be a universal language, even here, Zarlan mused. Notice how it brings them together. Fascinating. Grix, who had been scanning the area with a disguised sensor, turned to Zarlan. Commander, our readings show a high level of biochemical reactions in their brains when they listen to music or engage in what they call fun. It's as if these activities are essential to their well-being. Talik, who had been speaking with a local vendor, returned with food items known as hot dogs. Trying their food could provide more insights, he suggested, handing one to Zarlan. Zarlan took a bite, his expression thoughtful. Simple yet satisfying. Another layer to their culture. As the sun began to set, the three aliens regrouped. They had spent the day observing, learning, and even enjoying moments of human life. It was clear that Earth's inhabitants, while technologically primitive, possessed a depth of emotional and cultural complexity that was both intriguing and bewildering. Let's return to the ship and compile our findings, Zarlan decided. Today was enlightening, but there's much more to understand about humanity. As they discreetly made their way back to their extraction point, each member of the team carried with them new questions and a growing respect for the curious species known as humans. The mission was only just beginning, and Zarlan knew that Earth had many more secrets to unveil. Chapter 3. The Human Encounter. Back aboard the Nebula Seeker, Zarlan and his team processed the wealth of data they had collected from their day on Earth. The atmosphere in the lab was one of cautious excitement, each piece of information potentially critical to understanding the enigmatic humans. "Commander, there's an aspect we've overlooked," Grix mentioned, looking up from his data pad. "Humans value personal connections profoundly. Our interactions should maybe reflect that." Zarlan considered this. "You're suggesting we engage them more directly?" "Precisely," Grix affirmed. "We need to understand their emotional dynamics from within their social structures. Very well, Zarlan decided. We'll initiate personal contact. Grix, set up a scenario. Talik, you and I will go. Zarlan and Talik returned to Earth, this time to a cultural hub known as Vienna, renowned for its rich history and influence in music and the arts. They found themselves in a small, bustling cafe, blending in with the locals. As they sat at a table, Zarlan scanned the room, his eyes settling on a man sitting alone, reading a book. He nudged Talik, nodding towards the man. Let's engage him. He looks approachable, Zarlan whispered. They walked over to the man's table. Excuse me, do you mind if we join you? Zarlan asked in the most polite tone he could muster. The man looked up, a friendly smile forming on his face. Not at all, please. Have a seat. I'm Adrian. I'm Zane, and this is my friend, Tom, Zarlan introduced, using their assumed names. Adrian nodded. What brings you to Vienna? We're here to appreciate the art and culture, Talik replied, sliding into the seat. What about you? I'm actually studying here, Adrian began. Anthropology. It's fascinating to delve into what makes cultures tick. Anthropology, Zarlan repeated, intrigued. That must give you a deep insight into human behavior. It does, Adrian agreed, his eyes lighting up with enthusiasm. Every aspect of human life, from our celebrations to our mourning, is shaped by our cultures. It's all interlinked. Their conversation deepened, Adrian sharing insights into human emotions, traditions, and social rituals. Zarlan and Talik listened intently, occasionally asking questions to delve deeper. As the evening wore on, Adrian invited them to join him at a nearby art gallery. There's an exhibition on modern art. It might give you a deeper understanding of contemporary human expressions, he suggested. Walking through the gallery, Adrian pointed out various artworks, explaining the emotions and historical contexts behind them. Zarlan was struck by the depth of feeling humans could express through colors and shapes. Art seems to be a reflection of human emotions, Zarlan remarked. Exactly, Adrian said. It's how we interpret our world and our experiences. More than just survival, we seek meaning. Zarlan found himself increasingly fascinated, not just by the art but by the passion with which Adrian spoke. This encounter was revealing more about humans than any data could. As they left the gallery, Zarlan felt a connection, not just to the art, but to Adrian as a representative of his species. Thank you for this evening, Adrian. It's been enlightening, Zarlan said genuinely. My pleasure, Zane, Tom. It's not every day I get to share this with someone who appreciates it so deeply, Adrian replied, his smile genuine. They parted ways, but Zarlan knew this wouldn't be the last time they would meet. As he and Talik walked back to their covert transport site, Zarlan was thoughtful. Emotions, art, personal connections, these might be the keys to understanding humanity's true strength, he mused aloud. Talik nodded, his usual stoic self showing a hint of agreement. It's a strength that's not visible like a weapon, but felt in the heart. Their mission was evolving, and so was their understanding of the complex, vibrant nature of human life. Chapter 4. A Night in Vienna. The crisp evening air of Vienna was invigorating as Zarlan and Talik wandered through the historic streets. Their earlier interaction with Adrian had left them curious and eager for more insights into human culture. Reflecting on their conversation, Zarlan decided it was time to deepen their understanding by immersing themselves in a typical human social experience. Let's experience a human social event, Zarlan suggested to Talik. It could provide further insight into their emotional connections. An excellent idea, Talik agreed. Shall we inquire with Adrian? He seems to be well versed in local customs. After a brief communication, they met up with Adrian again, this time at a traditional Viennese ball, an event he described as a perfect blend of music, dance, and social interaction. As they approached the grand venue, the sounds of a classical orchestra filled the air. Men and women in elegant attire moved gracefully across the dance floor. Zarlan and Talik, now dressed in appropriate evening wear, followed Adrian into the throng. "Welcome to one of Vienna's most cherished traditions," Adrian announced, gesturing towards the dancers. "Dancing is an important part of our cultural heritage. It's a way to celebrate life, express joy, and forge connections." Zarlan watched, fascinated by the fluid movements and the obvious joy on the dancers' faces. "It's beautiful," he remarked. "The way they move together, it's like a form of communication." "It is," Adrian confirmed. "Would you like to try? It's the best way to truly understand." With some hesitation, Zarlan nodded. Adrian found them a dance instructor who patiently taught them the basic steps of the waltz. Soon, Zarlan found himself moving to the rhythm, guided by the music and his partner's subtle cues. As they danced, Zarlan felt a connection not just to his dance partner but to everyone in the room. The music, the movement, and the atmosphere seemed to weave them all together in a tapestry of shared human experience. After the dance, they retired to a quiet balcony overlooking the gardens. Adrian fetched some drinks, and they toasted to new friendships. "This kind of event," Zarlan started, choosing his words carefully, "it seems to embody much of what we find perplexing and profound about humans. You celebrate life in such a collective yet personal way." Adrian nodded, sipping his drink. "Yes, these events are milestones in our lives. They're memories we cherish and share. They remind us that we are part of something larger than ourselves." Talik, who had been mostly silent, added, "It's intriguing. Amongst my people, gatherings are mostly strategic. We rarely convene simply for enjoyment." Adrian looked thoughtful. "Enjoyment is essential for us. It strengthens bonds and helps us cope with our daily stresses. Dancing, music, sharing a meal, it's all part of living, not just surviving." The conversation drifted to other aspects of human culture: food, holidays, family dynamics, each topic revealing layers of complexity and emotion that Zarlan and Talik noted meticulously. As the night wound down, Adrian escorted them out of the venue. "I hope you've gained a deeper understanding of our ways," he said warmly. "We have," Zarlan affirmed, genuinely grateful. "And I hope to explore even more." "Any time," Adrian replied with a smile. "Vienna is full of surprises for those willing to look." As they departed, Zarlan felt a profound shift in his perception. Earth was not just a planet of strategic interest, but a place of deep cultural wealth and emotional richness. The mission was becoming less about observation and more about genuine understanding. Chapter 5. The Bond Deepens. After their enlightening experience at the Viennese ball, Zarlan and Talik found themselves frequently returning to Earth, drawn by their growing fascination with human culture and their burgeoning friendship with Adrian. The bond between the alien visitors and the human was strengthening, marked by frequent exchanges and shared experiences that spanned the cultural spectrum of Earth. One cool evening, as autumn leaves painted the city in shades of gold and crimson, Adrian invited Zarlan and Talik to join him at a local literary cafe known for its vibrant gatherings of poets and thinkers. It was an opportunity Zarlan eagerly accepted, hoping to delve deeper into the human emotional landscape. The cafe was cozy, with book-lined walls and soft jazz music playing in the background. As they entered, Adrian waved to a few acquaintances before guiding them to a table near a small stage where a poetry reading was about to begin. "Tonight is special," Adrian explained as they settled in. "It's an open mic night. People here share their own writings, often personal stories filled with emotions." Zarlan nodded, his interest piqued. It seems like a perfect way to understand human emotions more deeply. As the night unfolded, various individuals took to the stage, each sharing pieces of their lives through spoken word. The themes ranged from love and loss to joy and discovery. Zarlan and Talik listened intently, moved by the raw honesty and vulnerability displayed. During a brief intermission, Adrian turned to his companions. "What do you think? Quite different from your previous observations, I assume." "It's profound," Zarlan admitted. "The strength of feeling, the willingness to share it openly. It's very different from anything in our culture." Talik, usually more reserved, added, "There's a palpable energy in the air when someone shares something heartfelt. It's as if the whole room connects with that emotion." Adrian smiled. "That's exactly it. It's about connection. Here, sharing our deepest feelings isn't just cathartic for the speaker. It builds communal bonds." Encouraged by the atmosphere, Adrian decided to participate. He signed up for a slot and soon was called to the stage. His poem was about human exploration, both of the universe and of the self, a theme that resonated deeply with Zarlan and Talik. After the applause died down, Adrian rejoined them, his cheeks flushed with the thrill of his performance. "That was exhilarating," he confessed. "Sharing something so personal and seeing it touch others, there's nothing quite like it." The evening grew late, and the café began to empty. The three of them lingered, reluctant to end the night. Adrian suggested a walk along the Danube, where they could watch the city lights reflect on the water. As they strolled, Zarlan felt a closeness to Adrian that went beyond simple friendship or scientific curiosity. "Adrian, your poem tonight, it made me think about what exploration really means. Not just the discovery of new worlds, but understanding the experiences and emotions that define them." Adrian looked at Zarlan, his expression thoughtful. "I think that's what true exploration is about. It's not just external. It's about understanding others, and through them ourselves." The conversation meandered like the river beside them, touching on dreams, fears, and hopes. It was a night of deep connection and reflection, marking a significant moment in their journey, not just in their mission to learn about humanity, but in their personal growth and understanding of what it means to truly connect with another being. By the time they parted ways, the early hours of the morning were drawing in. Zarlan and Talik returned to their ship, each lost in thought. Earth, with all its complexities and mysteries, was teaching them more than they had ever anticipated, about humans, about the universe, and about themselves. Chapter 6. Discovering Love. The relationship between Zarlan, Talik, and Adrian continued to evolve, becoming an unexpected bridge between their worlds. One crisp autumn evening, Adrian invited them to his apartment, an offer that both aliens accepted with curiosity and eagerness to deepen their bonds. The cozy space was filled with artifacts and books from around the world, reflecting Adrian's deep interest in cultures and human connections. As they entered, Adrian welcomed them with warm hospitality. "I thought we'd cook dinner together," he proposed, leading them into the small kitchen filled with the aroma of spices and fresh ingredients. Cooking is another intimate part of human life, a way to share and care. Zarlan and Talik exchanged a look of interest. Cooking was not something they had experienced before, their sustenance usually coming from synthesized nutrition on their ship. "What are we making?" Talik asked as Adrian handed him an apron. "Italian pasta with a simple tomato sauce," Adrian explained, showing them the ingredients. "It's simple but delicious." The trio set to work, Adrian guiding them through the steps, chopping tomatoes and garlic, boiling water for pasta, and sautéing the sauce. The activity was filled with laughter and casual conversation, the kitchen a new setting for their continuing education on human customs. As they ate the meal they had prepared together, the atmosphere was light but intimate. Adrian poured a little wine, and the conversation deepened. Cooking and eating together, he explained, are acts of sharing that can strengthen relationships. It's not just about the food. It's about the time spent together, the stories shared over the meal. The discussion moved to the living room, where they settled with more wine. The warmth of the room and the wine loosened their tongues, and soon they were sharing personal stories and aspirations, the kind of deep, reflective talk that had become typical for their meetings. As the evening progressed, Zarlan found himself observing Adrian with a new intensity. The human's passion for life, his openness and depth, stirred something within Zarlan he hadn't anticipated. It was during one of Adrian's passionate explanations about human anthropology that Zarlan felt an overwhelming affection and attraction toward his friend. Seeing his distraction, Adrian paused. "Zarlan, are you all right?" "Yes, I'm just realizing how much these visits with you mean to me," Zarlan confessed, his voice lower than intended. The room fell quiet, the air charged with a new tension. Adrian moved closer, his expression softening. "I feel the same," he admitted. "There's something special about our friendship." Encouraged by Adrian's response, Zarlan leaned in, and their conversation turned into something more. The first kiss was tentative, a question asked with a touch of lips. When Adrian responded by deepening the kiss, it became an affirmation. They explored each other gently, with the respect and curiosity that had marked all their interactions. The kisses grew more confident, and the touches more exploratory, each movement building on the trust and affection they had cultivated. As they pulled away, the connection felt like the bright stars they often navigated by, distant yet significant. "This is new for me," Zarlan breathed, still close to Adrian's face. "And for me," Adrian whispered back, his hand reaching up to touch Zarlan's cheek gently. "But it feels right." The evening ended not just with a new understanding of human intimacy, but with a personal revelation for Zarlan and a deepened bond that neither of them had expected to find. They parted with a promise to explore this new aspect of their relationship, each aware that their connection had crossed into uncharted territories, both personal and interstellar. Chapter 7. The Revelation. After several more visits and shared experiences, the depth of Zarlan and Adrian's relationship had solidified into something profound. It was on a peaceful evening, with the city of Vienna illuminated by the gentle glow of street lamps, that Zarlan decided it was time to reveal the truth about his origins to Adrian. They were walking through a quiet park, a favorite spot of theirs, discussing various philosophies of life. Adrian was expounding on human notions of the universe and their place within it, his voice animated and thoughtful. "Zarlan," Adrian paused, turning to him with a curious expression, "you've always been so interested in our ways, yet you keep so much of yourself hidden. Where do you come from, truly?" Zarlan felt a tightening in his chest, the weight of his secret pressing down on him. He stopped walking, facing Adrian squarely. "I think it's time I told you something very important." Adrian's eyes widened slightly, sensing the seriousness in Zarlan's tone. "I'm listening." "I am not from this world, Adrian," Zarlan began, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "I am from a distant planet, part of a galaxy-spanning civilization. I came to Earth to learn about humanity, to understand your culture and emotions." Adrian stared at him, processing the revelation. After a moment, his initial shock gave way to a thoughtful expression. "That explains a lot. But why tell me this now?" "Because," Zarlan took a deep breath, "what I found here with you is more than data for a report. It's real. You've shown me aspects of life we've forgotten among the stars, love, passion, and deep connections." Adrian nodded slowly, taking a step closer. "And you think our bond might be compromised by your mission?" "No," Zarlan replied quickly. "On the contrary, it has made me realize that we, too, can learn from humans. Your strength isn't in your technology or weapons. It's in your capacity to love, to form bonds that transcend even the vastness of space." The words hung in the air between them, charged with emotion. Adrian reached out, placing a hand on Zarlan's arm. "And you're part of that now, Zarlan. You're as human as any of us in the ways that truly matter." Zarlan smiled, the tension easing within him. "I hope to take this message back to my people. Earth is unique, and its protection is essential, not because of a strategic advantage, but because of what it teaches about the universal potential for peace and understanding." Adrian's expression softened, his initial surprise now replaced by a sense of admiration. "I'm glad you trust me with this, and I'm here to help you in any way I can." They resumed walking, their steps slow as they continued to talk through the implications of Zarlan's truth. The conversation shifted towards what this meant for them both, personally and for the broader mission. As the night deepened, they found themselves at Adrian's apartment once more, not just as lovers or friends, but as confidants in a shared mission that bridged worlds. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" Adrian mused as they stood looking out at the cityscape. "It is," Zarlan agreed. "There's much to do, and I can think of no one else I'd rather have by my side." With the city lights twinkling below and the stars overhead, their shared path forward seemed clear. Together they would work to forge understanding between their peoples, a task that now seemed not just possible, but necessary. Their bond, a symbol of hope for a future where such connections could flourish galaxy-wide. Chapter 8. A New Mission. The early morning light filtered through the curtains of Adrian's apartment, casting a warm glow across the room where Zarlan and Adrian had spent the night discussing the future. Both were awake early, their minds buzzing with the possibilities that lay ahead. "Today is going to be a significant day," Zarlan remarked as he prepared a simple breakfast for them in the kitchen. The mundane act of cooking had become a cherished ritual, symbolizing normalcy and shared moments. Adrian leaned against the counter, watching Zarlan with a smile. "Because you're going to officially communicate Earth's uniqueness to the Galactic Council?" "Yes," Zarlan nodded, handing a cup of coffee to Adrian. "I'll be advocating for Earth's sovereignty and its recognition as a model of cultural richness and emotional depth. I want them to see Earth not as a place to be studied from afar, but as a teacher." Adrian took a sip of his coffee, his expression turning thoughtful. "It's a bold move, Zarlan. How do you think they'll receive it?" "There will be resistance," Zarlan admitted, sitting down at the small dining table. "But I believe once they understand what I've learned about humanity, they'll see the wisdom in it." The conversation shifted towards strategies for presenting these ideas to the Council. Zarlan detailed his plan to compile their findings into a report, highlighting human culture's potential to enrich alien societies. "You should emphasize the personal transformation you experienced," Adrian suggested. "Show them it's not just theoretical." Zarlan nodded in agreement. "I will. Showing my journey might help bridge the gap between mere data and real understanding." After breakfast, they prepared for the day, dressing in clothes that, while casual, still bore the crispness of important business. Before leaving, they stood together at the door, Zarlan turning to Adrian. "Whatever happens today, I want you to know how much your friendship has meant to me," Zarlan said earnestly. "And to me," Adrian replied, clapping Zarlan on the shoulder. "Go change the galaxy, my friend." With a final nod, Zarlan left for the Galactic Council's communication center, located in a discreet facility outside Vienna. Here, he initiated the transmission to the Council, his image and voice crossing light years to reach his distant colleagues. "Ladies and gentlemen of the Council," Zarlan began, standing before the Council displayed on the large screen. "Today, I bring before you a proposal that challenges our traditional views on civilization assessment and interstellar relations." He spoke with conviction, detailing his experiences, the profound insights gained from human culture, and the emotional bonds that had altered his perspective. He talked about the music, the art, the personal connections, and the transformative power of love and friendship. As Zarlan spoke, he could see the mixed reactions of the council members. Some were skeptical, their faces closed off, while others showed curiosity, their interest piqued by this unusual approach. When he finished, there was a long pause before the council's president, a venerable figure known for his wisdom, finally spoke. "Commander Zarlan, your report is unprecedented," he said slowly. "But it is compelling. We will consider your proposal carefully. Earth's case might indeed be a unique opportunity for us to learn and grow." Grateful for even the tentative acceptance, Zarlan signed off, feeling a mixture of relief and anticipation. He returned to Adrian, who was waiting for him with eager eyes. "They're considering it," Zarlan announced as he entered the apartment. Adrian's face broke into a wide grin. "That's fantastic! It's a step, right?" "It's a step," Zarlan agreed, feeling a surge of hope. Together, they had started something that might change the course of interstellar relations. As they sat down to celebrate with a quiet dinner, the stars outside seemed a little less distant, and the future a little brighter. Earth had taught Zarlan much, but most of all, it had taught him that even among the stars, the heart has its place, and love can be a powerful guide.